Ooh, do I have a tip for you after you apply for your carte vitale? Do you really want to rip off the government that you are asking to take care of you?
Yeah.
It's so much fun dating French guys, isn't it? One of the most striking things that I've learned about how different French can be from Americans is...
I don't want to get too much into politics.
But it's a political thing?
I think it's a political thing. Okay, that's really, really important information. Today we'll reveal the truth behind dating, dinner parties and doctors in France. Welcome back to Living Well in France. And today I'll be talking with Janice Wang, an American who's been living on the Côte d'Azur for the past 9 years. We'll learn what motivated Janice to finally take the plunge and move to France. We'll cover the charm of Frenchmen, the abuse by some Americans of the generous French healthcare system, why you can't get an appointment with a dermatologist, the top 3 topics of conversation at a French dinner party, how to sound more French, and the most difficult French words to pronounce, and how to make friends with the French. So without any further ado, here's Janice. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us today, Janice. And you've warned me, you said it might be a little controversial, but I'm all for sharing the truth. And, you know, we don't want to paint too much of a rosy picture of things if that's not the case. And I want people to be fully informed. So that's what our talk today is about. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Janice. Tell us about, how long you've been in France.
I'm a lifelong Francophile. In my public school district on the East Coast of the U.S., we had French classes starting from around 3rd grade, so since the age of 9. And I continued it all through school, all through university. When I was 19, I spent a year in France. So I ended up getting a job as a bilingual secretary in a submarine company. And it was the most transformative year of my life. All of my epiphanies have taken place in France. I do not use that as a religious term. I use that as a term describing those moments that could be considered banal, but are in fact life-changing. And so I always knew something more was going to happen once I moved to France. Wow. And it has. I'm living my dream. But I'm living a dream without rose-colored glasses. I am fluent in French, both written and spoken, and I'm applying for naturalization. So I hope to bring to this discussion the point of view of someone who's been in France long enough and who knows the French well enough to perhaps represent their view, because all of my best friends are French. I don't live in an Anglo bubble. Right,
okay. And you're down in the south of France, aren't you?
I'm in Mougins, very close to where you spent a good amount of time. So yes. I'm next to Cannes and Antibes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, beautiful part of France. And I was in Cannes for about 9 years. But I have to say, I did have a large expat community of friends while I was there, because I was an English teacher. So naturally, I met other people who spoke English as their first language and became close to them. So what do you think of the people that come to France and don't try to learn the language or don't make it a priority?
I would say that it's like choosing to watch silent movies for your entire life and never getting onto the color with sound. It's very 1.5 dimensional.
So that's such a good way of putting it. I never thought about it like that, but yeah, it's hard for me to imagine, because I came here already with quite a good level of French, having studied it at university. But still, it took me years before I became what I would say fluent. Years of practicing with French people. It's the only way.
Absolutely. And the best way is actually dating or marrying one, right? You
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so much fun dating French guys, isn't it? Well, you're taken now, so you're off the market.
Oh, I had my fun. I had my fun in my 20s, for sure. Oh, my goodness.
But that's for another video.
Oh, it doesn't have to be.
Ooh,
I'll talk about anything. So, are you currently in a relationship with a French person, or?
I just recently started dating a gentleman, and it was strictly because of a catastrophic situation. And he was my Prince Charming. He came through for me.
Ah.
Imagine this. I'm in my catastrophic situation. We were supposed to have a lunch date, and so I call him, and I'm late because of the catastrophic situation, and I call him on the phone, and I say, Patrick, je ne serai pas là. I won't be there. And he goes, why not? And my response is, because my car is stuck on a staircase.
How did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. He came to my rescue. So as far as I'm concerned, he's my Prince Charming.
Oh.
And I do find Frenchmen charming.
Absolutely.
And that's a whole other story, right?
Yeah. That was the biggest attraction for me as well, after having dated Englishmen growing up in the UK. When I met these Frenchmen, my first French boyfriend, I was 19, and exactly like you say, he sort of came to my rescue. He took me under his wing. He was very protective and gentlemanly, and this was sort of a way of being towards women that I wasn't used to. It's very much sort of, you're one of the lads in the UK. That was the atmosphere. You're all good mates and you're all sort of equal, which some women really appreciate. And I can understand that sometimes that's really nice, but I guess I'm kind of old-fashioned. I really like having a man who's going to protect me and who's going to take the lead.
And the term charm, there's something about French people, men and women alike, when they want to show the charm, you are powerless. Human do not even try to resist.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Well done. So you've been charmed then by Patrick. So you've been living for how long in France for now, Janice?
So not counting the year when I was 19, I've been here solidly for 9 years now.
Okay. And at what point did you decide to move here? And what was your motivation for coming 9 years ago?
Mm-hmm. I had a heart attack, and I decided I was not going to die regretting that I never moved to France.
Okay, so it was a lifelong dream after having spent that year when you were 19.
Absolutely. And the heart attack said, life is too short, go.
Wake up call. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All the people I speak to, there's something that happens, some, big catalyst in their life that motivates them. Because it's a big move, isn't it? It's a big thing to take on, to move halfway across the world and leave everything behind.
I would say it's probably the one biggest accomplishment in my life. I would say it's the one thing that I've done deliberately that I'm the most proud of. Yeah.
It's always the hardest things that when you look back on, they're the most transformative and often the things that you're most proud of in life. So let's get into the details. When you came over here, so you needed to get a visa, presumably, for a year. And was your intention when you came over to stay forever, long term?
Not at all. I decided I was going to try it for a year, and it would either be a year-long vacation or it would be a forever move. So I kept my options open, and I got the visa that would allow me to stay longer if I chose to. Okay. And after about 3 months, that's exactly the decision that I made.
And which visa was that, just for people who are interested?
The VLS-TS Visiteur.
Okay.
The visitor, it's called in English the renewable 1-year visitor visa.
Okay. And then you settled into life here. Were you working when you moved here? Were you still?
Nope. I was 60.
Okay.
So I was retired, And in fact, with the visitor visa, you are not allowed to work.
I see.
It's
Okay.
one of the conditions of getting that visa and renewing the visa.
Okay, but you have to prove that you've got enough income to live off, presumably.
Absolutely. They don't
Okay.
want you under a bridge, and they don't want you asking for lodging and to be cared for.
Yeah. But I understand that before you come over, you have to have health insurance. But after 3 months of living in France, you can then apply for being part of the French social security and having the French healthcare system apply to you. Is that right?
Exactly. And this, as you know, is one of my big beefs.
Yeah. Go ahead and explain
you're
why.
going right to the heart of things here, Jane. Okay, so as Jane said, after living here as a resident in France for 3 months, you can start the application process to receive the carte vitale, which I did. And yes, as part of the conditions of obtaining the visa, you do have to get private health insurance. And on the visa website, it says you have to get private health insurance for the full term of your visa, which is 1 year.
Okay.
So there are many handholders and many people who say, "Ooh, do I have a tip for you after you apply for your carte vitale? Once you get it, you can cancel your private health insurance and save all that money and get the French government to reimburse you for your health costs." And I'm saying, I hate that. I hate that people are not understanding it's not free healthcare. It's certainly not free to the French, who out of every paycheck pay a contribution to the healthcare system. And when they retire, they pay out of their pension monies. So when I hear, my rant is specifically towards Americans who come to France with the idea that, oh my God, it's free. And oh my God, I can save all this money by canceling my private health insurance early and the government will pick it up. Oh my God, that's so unfair. And I appeal to the Americans who I think in general have a very strong sense of fair play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much so that the French have adopted the word fair play in their language because there is no term for that in French. So they say,
C'est fair play.
c'est le concept de fair play. And so I appeal to all Americans who agree that you shouldn't be taking from a system that you haven't put into. And at a very minimum, do what the government expects you to do. Do what the government asks you to do by buying private health care insurance for the full term of your visa. One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. So the immigration side of the French government is asking you to buy this private health insurance, but the agency that's in charge of giving you the carte vitale, they're not checking your immigration. They're not checking your private health insurance. Their job is just to issue those cards. So yeah, you're shortcutting the system, but think about it. Do you really want to rip off the government that you are asking to take care of you? Do you really want to take advantage of such a generous system? I'm sorry, I have nothing but disdain for people who recommend that and for people who do that, because health insurance, healthcare costs in France are so cheap. Even if you don't yet have the carte vitale, if you go to a doctor's or a dentist's and you pay out of pocket, it's about the same cost as what you would pay in copay in the US. So to see a private doctor, 25 euros. You're paying 25 euros copay in the US. Are you kidding me? You're going to ask the French government to pick that up for you when you should have been paying for private health insurance, when all the French citizens are paying for you, and where the average French citizen is making about what half of the average American is making? How unfair is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah, bringing that to light is...
It's like Captain
Very
America,
important.
that Marvel cartoon character, justice, the American way.
Yeah, but then go to France and forget all about it.
Not only that, but justice in America is kind of becoming passé now.
Yeah. So does this only apply to Americans? I've heard it's a bit of a loophole because of the Franco-American agreement. There's some kind of reason for this.
I could not speak to other countries, but this is why it occurs for Americans. There is a Franco-American tax treaty, La
Yes.
Convention Fiscale Franco-Américaine, and France has about 100 different tax treaties with about 100 different countries. And the American one is considered positively, absolutely, no question, the most generous because of America's involvement in the two world wars. So the tax treaty determines how Americans are taxed in France. When you come to France, when you become a resident, you have a statutory requirement to fill out French tax forms every year. Whether or not you work in France is immaterial. Whether or not you owe money to France is immaterial. It's a statutory requirement. When you fill that out, you will report all of your American and, in fact, worldwide income. So let's pretend you're the average American retiree who's decided they're going to live their dream and move to France. So you are going to be reporting all of your retirement income, your U.S. Social Security income, your 401k distributions, your IRA distributions, your private pension money, everything that's related to retirement income. You report it, but France gives you a full credit, which means no out-of-pocket payment to France. Essentially, you look like a poor boat person who's coming across the Mediterranean from either the Middle East or from Africa. They don't count what you have as retirement income. If that's your only income, you look penniless, you look shirtless to the French government, and they are not going to bill you or charge you for your capital. The only time the French government will bill you for health insurance, the French health system, is if you have non-retirement income above and beyond approximately 23,000 euros. So that might be rental income if you own a rental property in the US and you're making income. It could be investment income that's not in a retirement account. It could be capital gains, interest, or dividends from non-retirement accounts. And I'm happy to pay that. I do get billed every year. I'm happy to pay it.
Yeah. Okay. That's really, really important information. I'll try and find out about other countries, but it makes sense. It made sense perhaps in the past that this agreement was put into place because of the American involvement in the world wars. Perhaps today it might be time for a revision with the national debt issue. Could be a bit of a time for an update, shall we say?
Yeah, especially since the UK, they contributed also, but you guys are not treated nearly as generously, are you?
No, that's funny. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, my husband, he runs businesses in France. He's a Frenchman, lived in France all his life, and we were talking about this morning and saying that, you know, as an employer, I mean, we talk about what people get taxed from their salary, but the employer pays about 80% to the government of what you get as your net salary. So, you know, somebody
above and beyond.
Yeah. It's like
invisible.
Almost double. So you'll be paid, imagine you're paid 2,000 net. Your employer is going to be forking out about 1,000, 700, something like that, to pay in tax every month to the government. So it's really, really expensive to be an employer in France. And it's the employer that pays the majority of the tax. And
which is why even walking into doctors' offices, it's so interesting. There are so many doctors' offices that don't have secretaries. Certainly they don't have that whole team of girls running around in the back, looking at files and filing with insurance companies. It's so common to walk into a doctor's office and to have no one but the doctor.
Yeah, it's just too expensive.
And, oh my gosh, for a woman that has to undress, for an American woman that has to undress, it's like, where's the nurse?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's never even occurred to me. I've been here for too long. But yeah, I've had to get completely naked for a gynecologist on a few occasions. He's like, oh, just take everything off and I'll check everything at once. So you're completely exposed. That was a bit much, but that was a male gynecologist. I would always say, try to go and see a female one, because he didn't really have the sensibility necessary, in my opinion.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And a lot of doctors, high earners now decide to only work 3 or 4 days a week, because why, it's always, depending on your salary, you suddenly hit a different tax bracket and you get wiped out. So what's the point? I go and teach English every week to a little 7-year-old whose dad is an ophthalmologist, one of the best paid specialities in France. I think he only works 3 days a week. He's always there. He's pottering around the garden, having a lovely life. Living the dream, and I think he works about 3 days a week, which means it's also quite difficult to get an appointment with certain specialists. The more that they're in demand.
Especially in the summer, like this being August, do not get sick in August.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know what it's like down in the south of France, in Mougins, in areas that I know the whole of the Côte d'Azur quite well, and I know it's very population dense. So are there long waiting lists? Is it, but throughout the year, is it particularly difficult to see certain specialists, or is it okay?
I think nationwide, the hardest doctors to get a hold of are dermatologists, which I've never understood. I mean, it seems like a kind of an easy specialty in the sense that you're not going to get called 3 a.m. with an emergency, right? So why aren't there more dermatologists?
I know exactly why that is. It's since they've all started doing Botox injections and, I can't say that word, injections for beauty. They've all started doing it because it pays so well. And probably more than half of their agenda is taken up with, what's it called? I can only think of the French word, chirurgie esthétique, and all of that. It's just
facelifts.
They don't do facelifts, but injections.
Stuff that the government doesn't care about.
Yeah.
They're doing the stuff that isn't health related because it's more profitable.
Yeah, I mean, you have to pay out of pocket for it, of course, thank goodness. But the dermatologist time is taken up with that now. Well, if you phone up to make an appointment, because I'm a redhead, I'm very conscious of taking care of my skin, so I go once a year. But whenever I phone up, I'm asked first if it's for injections, so non-necessary, or if it's for actual dermatology. That's the first question they ask.
There's just as many dermatologists out there, but their time is being taken up by the aesthetic treatments.
Yes, I don't know of any that don't do the aesthetic treatments. Thank you for finding the word. Yeah, I don't know of any. Why would you not do it? It pays so much better than, just checking somebody's moles. So yeah, that's why, unfortunately.
Interesting. But there's plenty of doctors available here in the Côte d'Azur. And in fact, that's one of the recommendations I would make for people who are planning on moving to France. They all ask, oh, where should I move? I don't want too much wind. I don't want too much heat. I don't want too much cold. Well, the first thing I recommend they ask about is it a medical desert? Because the cheaper it is, probably the less doctors are there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, a lot of people want to live in the Côte d'Azur, so there'll be a lot of doctors there as well, presumably, wanting to live in the sunshine.
Although in this month, they're probably all at the beach, so
of course.
Get sick.
Yeah. No, nobody's at work at the moment, of course. So you said you moved to France and you fully integrated, which is unusual. It's not the most common path.
I know. Americans are not supposed to be able to speak another language, right?
It's
Sorry.
admirable. No, it's great. It's great. So you worked hard on your French. How did you do that? And can you tell us a bit about how you made French friends? Because
Okay.
that's
Well,
difficult
again, I
sometimes.
took French all through school. And when I was 19 and lived a year in Aix-en-Provence, that's when I made the leap from school French to real life French. And then after that 1 year in France, I had to go back and lead a completely conventional, boring life. I maintained it. I always continued reading French novels, watching French movies, albeit with French subtitles.
With French
And
subtitles. That's the key.
And I developed a circle of French-speaking friends, not all French, by the way, some Belgian, some whatever. And we read French books together and discussed it in French. And in fact, that's how I got my first rental in France. Everyone complains about how difficult it is to find rental lodging. Before leaving the US, I asked my French circle of friends, please contact friends or family in France and ask them if anyone has an apartment or a place that I can rent for a year. And serendipity would have it that the one and only person who replied said, yes, I've got a cousin who's got a place that you can rent. And it happened to be in the Côte d'Azur. So the stars were shining upon me.
Is that how you ended up there, or did you choose to live in the Côte d'Azur?
It was the one and only place that was recommended to me. And I ended up making great friends with that family who hosted me. And when I got integrated, it was because I was speaking French 24 hours a day. It was total immersion. Of course, I already had French, but, you know, when you're not immersed in it, you lose all the little phrases.
Yes.
You lose that spontaneity, that, you know, being able to immediately react. And so that I had to work on. And the family that hosted me, I now consider them my famille adoptive in France. They are my French family. You know you're integrated in France when you get invited to French birthday parties, to French holiday celebrations like Christmas, when they plan on you coming to their Christmas or to their New Year's. It's an honor, it's a delight, and as everyone knows, spending 3 or 4 hours at a dinner table with the French is just one of the best experiences you can ever have.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, absolutely. Did you...
Another good way of knowing if you're integrated enough, well, it's not like a test. You know how people complain about when they go to a supermarket and the French are just clogging up the aisles? You know, you'll have one woman who, oh, mon ami, ma chère amie, comment tu vas? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Dis, raconte-moi tout. And so when they start speaking to each other and clogging up the aisle, you're like, oh my God, I'm in a rush. You know, or they were doing it at the checkout. It's like, you know, they're asking about each other's vacations and about each other's babies, and your eyes are rolling. Well, you know what? I love that kind of stuff. Obviously, they do too. But when it happens to you, it means you finally know enough people that you're going to bump into friends in the supermarket. And it's just a heartwarming, delightful experience. So yeah, my goal in life is to clog up the cashier lines and the supermarket aisles.
Excellent. That's such a good point. Yeah, I did that just the other day. On 2 occasions. One occasion I saw an old friend who used to come to a mums and babies group that I set up. And I bumped into her and lost about 25 minutes of my morning just catching up and chatting in one of the aisles, probably annoying people blocking the way. And it was great. You know, it was lovely to see her, ask all about her children. She's Catholic, so she's got 6 children, and there was a lot of catching up to do, you know.
Good Catholic!
Yeah. Yeah. But then, interestingly, and I feel bad about it and have done ever since, I bumped into a lady from my gym class, But I was stressed. I just got back from my holiday to England, a quick visit to England, and I was stressed. I had lots to do that day. I was a bit tired, and I was pushing my trolley along, and she says, "Oh, bonjour, Jane. Comment ça va?" I'm like, "Oh, bonjour, oui, merci, ça va." And I just kept going. And afterwards, I thought, "Oh my goodness, she must think I'm so rude or cold, or that we're only friends at gym class, and all the kind of things that I am not like, you know." And I don't know how to, when I see her at gym class in September, I'll explain. Because
Exactly.
she's just such a sweet lady, but she just caught me on an off day, and I've been feeling bad about it ever since. Because
You'll make it up to her in gym class.
Yes, I will. People take the time to live, you know, but then people come to this country. I hear it often, you know, people come and they want to live in France because the pace of life is so much slower, and people that take the time. But then they complain that everything takes ages. It's like, you can't have the best of both worlds. Everything's going to take a bit longer. You've just got to adapt to that way of life.
Especially if you don't speak the language.
Of course. Yeah. There is this sort of, with Brits, I've noticed this especially, they just sort of assume that perhaps not the average French person that they meet on the street. They don't expect that person to speak English. But the further up they go in sort of, you know, dealing with educated people, they just assume that that person's going to have good enough English to speak to them. And why? Why should they? Why should they? It's on you. It's 100% on you to learn the language of the country you move to.
Absolutely. And statistically, I read an article the other day that said of all the countries in Europe, the French have the lowest ability to speak French, to speak English.
Yeah. No, I can vouch for that. Being an English teacher here for 20 years, I've always got plenty of work. They find it difficult to, well, I mean, linguistically, there's a huge difference between the French and the English language. And mentally, they find it challenging. Adults, because I teach adults mostly. They don't like
So you mentioned you teach English.
Yes.
I've been teaching English as well, strictly as a volunteer. And I find it's a wonderful way to make friends with the French.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. They're so grateful. They love it.
And they're just warm people. At Christmas, I was getting bottles of wine and lemons from their lemon tree. And then at the end of the year, I organized a picnic on the beach in Cannes, and people were asked to bring food that they could share. Oh my gosh, French picnics are the best. You have not lived to enjoy a picnic until you've gone to a French picnic where people bring homemade food, and it's to die for.
It's wonderful. Oh, you're making me nostalgic. I used to celebrate my birthday on the beach in Cannes every year because it's at the end of July with a picnic like that. And there's just so much good food.
So much fun. What are some of your most fun experiences in France?
Oh goodness. Oh my goodness.
Heartwarming, fun, friendly experiences.
Whenever anyone asks me a question like that, my mind goes blank.
No.
I haven't got a list of them. I mean, oh God, I've been here. I feel like, you know, my entire life has really been here. All my formative years, shall we say, have been in France. So
you have so many to choose from that no one that comes to mind.
I mean, one of my best friends is from Marseille, Marjolaine. And just being friends with her has enriched my life so much because she's a proper Marseillaise, dark hair, you know, lovely tan, and she's got a swimming pool, little house with a swimming pool in the garden, and I go down and visit her, and she's a teacher, so she has July and August off, and she opens her house to La Semaine des Nanas, and she invites all her friends. She sends her 2 sons off to Mamie. Her husband works at the Avignon Festival, so he's an intermittent spectacle. So she has the house to herself, and she fills her house with French women and me, the token Brit, and we cook together every day. We sit around the pool, and it's basically like a sort of, we just talk about everything. non-stop. I mean, it's exhausting. I took a book last year and I didn't even open it because we don't stop talking. And
it's like a pajama party for grown women.
For a whole week. I mean...
How fun is that?
It's wonderful. So, yeah, that's just one example of so many. Just, my French family here. I met my husband down in the south of France, in Juan-les-Pins, because he was an optician down there. And me wearing glasses, we had a little rencontre, and yeah.
Do you mean he hit on one of his clients?
I don't know if it was more him. Yeah, I don't know if it was more him or me, to be honest. It was the way he put the glasses, how they adjust them, they put them on your face and they sort of adjust the glasses around your ear, and oh my goodness, goosebumps. It was instant, coup de foudre. And I think he could tell because I was probably blushing. And after that,
love at first sight, coup de foudre.
It was, yeah, absolutely was, yeah. The dates, the random experiences, I could literally write a book about them all. It's so funny, and what not to do, les faux pas as well. There, yeah, a lot of those. offering to go halves is not at all acceptable. As far as Frenchmen I've met are concerned, if you go on a date with a Frenchman, they expect to pay, which is...
And for that reason, I would never expect to go for a meal on the first date.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
I would always recommend a cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee in the afternoon.
Glass of wine.
Yeah, maybe not the glass of wine on the first date as well. That was something I read.
One glass.
Yeah, well, that's the trouble, isn't it? Starts as one and then... No, I recommended that to one of my friends who is a serial dater. She's still down on the Côte d'Azur. If she's watching, she'll know who I'm talking about.
And still serial dating?
No, she's met somebody who she's been with for a few months now. So fingers crossed he's the one. And it was because I think it was partly thanks to my advice of stop going on evening dates and having wine, because you lose your judgment. And you're meeting this person for the first time. You need to have all of your faculties to judge the person. And so a cup of coffee in the afternoon, or even,
And you don't want someone accompanying you back to your home in the evening.
Absolutely not. You do not want them to know where you live, yeah. Did you find, I wonder if you can think off the top of your head, just in case, any things that you've noticed people do with the French that have made it difficult to become friends with the French?
So apart from the language aspect,
of course,
I would say it's hard for Americans, anyhow. I can only speak for Americans. When a French person has to speak English, and if they're translating their French thoughts into English, it's easy to miscommunicate. So you know this. So I'm preaching to the choir. The French sense of humor is very much ironic, where they'll say the exact opposite of what they mean, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
like the simple expression, c'est terrible, usually means it's wonderful.
Yes.
Or it's not what I call sarcasm, because sarcasm is mean.
Mm-hmm.
Sarcasm is meant to be hurtful. When I say ironic, it's like, okay, so imagine your taxi driver is pointing out the traffic is being congested, and you see 3 workmen sitting by the side of the road smoking cigarettes. He might say something, oh, regarde comment on travaille dur en France. Look at how hard we work in France,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
He's not being mean. It's an ironic thing. But it's like when you say the exact opposite, it doesn't always come across as humor in a foreign language. So I think Americans have to learn that. Americans have to learn to pour on the charm. I think Americans have to learn to be charming. Whenever you are asking someone for assistance, my rule of thumb is engage them first in something that has nothing to do with your business and get them to smile. If you can get them to smile, then you can go on to whatever your business question is. That's true for going into a French administrative office, into a doctor's office, asking a salesperson, can you please help me find something? You have to use charm first. I consider it social Greece. And I don't think Americans are used to that concept because Americans are very capitalistic. Time is money. You go straight for the question. And so in the U.S., when you're asking a salesperson to help you find something, they don't say, "Hi, how are you? Can you please help me find something?" They go, they might say at the most, "Excuse me, where's the toilet paper?"
Yeah, yeah.
And the French, you don't do that.
Well, the French, the magic word is bonjour before anything else. And if you miss that, then you'll come away probably, if you're here on holiday, you'll come away thinking the French are rude.
Exactly.
But no, they think you're rude.
Exactly.
And they'll treat you badly.
Every American that says the French are rude, that immediately tells me they did not say bonjour.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is, I think sometimes people think the French might be a bit rude because the French are much less explicit, much less extroverted in their reactions to things. So they will say, you'll say, "Oh, I just got back from this incredible holiday. It was so amazing." And they'll say, "Ah, très bien. Super.
Yeah.
Super. Pas mal."
They're not as smiling. And in fact, that's one of the warnings that I received when I first arrived in France from a male friend. He said, "Jan, you can't be so smiling. All the guys are going to take it as an invitation."
Oh, gosh, that's such a good point. Yes. Yeah. I still do that now. I still do it too much. I'm too smiley. And yeah, I'd love to be like a French woman, with my Gauloise and pure sophisticated. Blasé. Voilà.
Mondaine.
Yeah, I wish I could develop that. I've recently taken on the challenge of trying to work on my French accent and sound less English when I'm speaking. And it's become a bit of an obsession. And one of the things one of my teachers said to me, because I use a teacher, and she said, well, the French, their mouth is far more closed when they're speaking, much less sort of wide and smiley and open, like in the British way of talking, and American as well, completely like, "Hi, how are you?" And whereas the French, c'est comme ça, si on parle comme ça, avec la bouche un petit peu fermée, bah voilà, on a l'air d'être beaucoup plus française, quoi. And right away, when I started doing that, I realized, oh my goodness, I sound a lot more French. It's not bonjour, comment ça va?
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
And there's probably a good indicator that you're doing a better job at pronouncing it if your cheeks hurt. I remember the first few months that I was here and I'm working on my accent. My cheeks were the part that always felt the most tired at the end of the full day of immersion. That's
true, because you're pushing your mouth forwards, which is not a natural thing to do with the English language. So yeah,
and it probably helps develop cheeks,
cheekbones, and the French pout. The nonchalant look, which is obviously the height of elegance. So it's something I'm aiming for. But yeah, I mean, you can't change who you are, and that's part of our charm, isn't it? Just to be who we are. But it's nice sometimes to be able to blend and just be not have somebody ask you how long you're staying on holiday or say, "Oh my goodness, your French is so good." I just want them to think I'm French sometimes. It would be nice.
Yes, and in fact, a good measure of knowing that your French has taken a huge leap is when they stop replying in English.
Yes.
Because then that means your French is better than their English.
Yeah. Or looking at you like they're slightly in pain, like somebody's standing on their foot when they're trying to understand what you're saying.
What is your hardest word to pronounce? Do you still have any?
Yeah, I do. I have a few, yeah. Bouilloire. Kettle.
Bouilloire.
Bouilloire. I want to... I'm not quite sure how much R rolling and how much in the throat it should be. Because if you don't, then it's just bouilloire and it's totally wrong. So yeah, that's always one.
That's a tough one.
That's one. How about you?
Serrurier.
Goodness, yeah. Serrurier. Yeah.
Serrurier.
Yeah. That's a tricky one. Fortunately, yeah, I haven't actually had to go and have a key cut. So
I agree.
Yeah, there's
Which
so many.
is one of those nightmares in France, right? I've never needed to do it, but I hear that they know you are over the barrel and they are going to take advantage of that. And at the cheapest, what have you heard? 500 euros if you have to call a locksmith.
Oh, to have somebody come and change your locks. Yeah, I haven't had to either, so I haven't heard actually, but I'm sure, yeah, they can you have to try and get a recommendation first, probably. Yeah, call a friend first, say, have you ever had to use anyone? And then say, you were recommended by my friend, so that they feel like they can not take so much advantage, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
See, all of France is about networking.
Absolutely.
Relationship.
Who you know.
And that's something that Americans have to learn to do also, because Americans are brought up to be independent and self-reliant and pull yourself up by the bootstraps and do it, you can do it, that kind of thing. That goes out the window when you come to France, especially if you don't speak French. You are not going to survive if you can't ask your neighbor, who should I go to for a doctor?
Yeah.
What's the nearest car repair shop that you trust? Where can I get my hair done? That kind of thing. It's like you have to be able to speak to people and ask them for suggestions. Otherwise, you're forever going to be asking these questions on Facebook, and you're forever going to get people that are used to dealing with Anglophones and
you'll get charged more and taken advantage of. Yeah. I only started doing that after probably about 5 or 6 years in France. It took me ages to get used to asking for recommendations and using my network. But once I did...
Really? Because are you English? The English are like that too? Pull yourself up by the bootstraps?
I guess... I think we are, yeah. I think we are.
Really?
Well, I am. Yeah. I mean, I left after university. I came straight to France, so I was feeling very independent and I can do it all by myself, kind of thing. But I had my French boyfriend who was there to save me, of course. But voila. Yeah. But no, I was pretty independent-minded, and I thought, yeah, I'll just look somebody up or just walk past somebody's plaque in the street on the, their name on the door of somewhere, and I'd just phone up and make an appointment. And I had some terrible appointments with doctors and specialists, and because I didn't get a recommendation. But this independent spirit, I'll just look it up, we'll book it, off we go, no problem at all, sorted. I don't need help. And then that's very un-French.
Right.
It's all
and they would not mind at all. So
no.
If you think, I don't want to bother them, that's never the case. If it's a friend, they're happy to make a recommendation.
Yes. Yeah. Who said it? I read it a while ago or saw it on a video. One of the first things you should do when you move to a new place is ask a neighbour for a favour. It's not offer a service, but ask somebody for a favour, especially in France. It opens reciprocity, and if you've asked them for something, then they'll feel comfortable to then ask you for something, and that will open up the giving and taking of friendship, So you shouldn't hesitate. Rather than, the French don't particularly appreciate you going around with a freshly baked cake either. That's another big difference. I mean, we could do a whole video on this.
You're a weirdo.
Yeah, like with a big smile and bonjour, bienvenue dans le quartier. They'd find it intrusive, I think, most French, especially in Normandy, because the Normans are known to be quite a lot more closed than probably down in the south of France. And yeah, that wouldn't work, would it?
No. I like the idea of making friends by inviting my neighbors to an apéro chez moi.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where the French themselves typically don't necessarily do those overtures to their neighbors. No. So you get people that live on the same floor in an apartment building that have never met each other than saying a passing bonjour.
Yes.
But as a single woman, I came to France alone. I want that sense of security that my neighbors know who I am, and if there's suddenly people coming out of my place that don't belong, they'll ask me questions, or if I'm away on vacation. In fact, I've heard this happen. All those stories about squatters in France. A Frenchman told me that he left his apartment in Paris to go vacation, and about a week after leaving his place in Paris, he got a call from a neighbor in the Paris apartment, the neighbor right next door. And the neighbor said, have you invited a family to stay at your place while you're on vacation?
God.
And he goes, no. Oh my gosh. There was a family of squatters that had installed themselves at his place. So fortunately, he was able to get fast enough action that he got them out of there pretty quickly.
Because that's not easy to do. There's laws that protect them in France. A lot of people won't do Airbnb because they're too worried about squatters. My husband doesn't want to do Airbnb because of the risk of people moving in, because the law you'll be the criminal if you try and evict them.
Yes.
It can take years to get them out. It's awful.
Yeah, that whole concept of proportional force.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're the landlord and
You're
have
obviously
money,
rich.
this poor homeless person doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, I would agree. Americans are very outgoing, but, again, you've got the language problem. So unless they have to get rid of the fear of making mistakes and just learn to be fearless.
Yeah.
No one's going to put you in grammar jail because you can conjugate properly or because you said bonjour when the French person is saying bonsoir.
Yes.
No big deal. I see that happen quite frequently among the French themselves. The whole bonjour, bonsoir thing, there's no absolute rule.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like it'll start to be getting dark already, which is typically, when people might remember to make the change. I've had French people say bonjour to me when it's obviously dusk and after work hours.
It doesn't matter. But the French will correct you, and they will correct each other with their French sometimes. And it's never done it's never meant as a derogatory,
Never.
In a bad way. They're simply protecting their language and making sure you understand how to speak it. And it's good.
They see themselves as being helpful.
Yeah. You have to see it that way.
Not a critique. I'm being helpful by telling you your accent sucks.
Yes. C'est
what,
madame.
I wonder if we could divulge. Here's something that just popped up into my head, Jane. One of the most striking things that I've learned about how different French can be from Americans is in the U.S., let's say that you're being invited to a dinner party. In the U.S., we would typically steer clear of controversial subjects, those being politics, religion, and sex. Oh my gosh, those are the favorite topics of every French dinner party, right?
Like the top 3 if you want to have a good dinner party. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Nothing animates people as much as those 3 topics.
Yeah.
So I've actually been to a French dinner party where I was the only non-French person. And our hosts had a very unusual political bent. One of them was not French. One of them was from an Eastern European country. And she starts saying how she thinks Trump is right, how Putin is right. And it's like everyone else in the group is going, what? And if this conversation had taken place in the U.S., American guests who were not of the same ilk would likely be thinking, this is the last time I'm ever going to see that person. It's not like that in France. You are allowed to have a different opinion, and you're allowed to have animated discussion. The one big difference is the French would never stoop to saying anything nasty or denigrating, God forbid, name calling. No. Because if you were to stoop to that level, it would show that you're ignorant, that you don't know how to form a formal argument. The French will form formal arguments by saying, but how do you explain this thing that he said or did? And it's factual. It's never nasty and judgmental. And so at the end of that evening, the friend who invited me along to that dinner party, as we're talking about this the couple that hosted us, he himself was surprised. He knew these people for 26 years and never knew that the woman from the Eastern European country had such extreme views. And so he asked him, well, does it change your opinion about her? And he goes, no, why should it? He says, I've known those people for 26 years.
Yeah.
Politicians come and go, but they will be my friends forever.
That's it.
And so at the end of the evening, everyone just, does the bees like, oh, it was a fun evening. We had animated conversation. Thank you so much. Love to see you again. And they mean it.
Yes. Yeah, gosh, the hours long conversations I've had with my French family, especially around the table, tend to go round and round and round in circles. They'll hit on something, some juicy subject, and they'll absolutely talk about it until they can't think of anything else to say on the subject. And I'm like, oh God, I think it might be a famille Dieu, because my husband is Monsieur Dieu. And it might be a particular genetic trait in their family, but they will just, I sort of try and move the conversation on quite often. No, it comes back. We haven't done this yet.
One more thing to say.
Yeah. They do it to death, and they're taught to at school as well. Children are taught to write really thoughtful, they're taught to organize their thoughts by writing. And it's a key to having the ability to analyze properly and think for yourself. And the French are very good at that. I think they're much more difficult to brainwash, perhaps. There is still a left-right divide in France. And I have some friends who are kind of extrême gauche, left wing, hardcore left wing, and others who are really on the other side, right wing. And sometimes there is some tension. Yeah, I've seen them having conversations. There is some tension, but they will have the conversation, and those people will come together. Whereas I don't know, in the UK now, it's so separate, and America as well,
Yes. Oh, in the US, there are family members that will never speak to each other again over that political divide. And that, for me, that's just inconceivable in France.
Yeah. It's.
Have you ever, in all your years in France, met any French people who said, I'm not ever talking to that person again because of their political sways?
No.
Never, right?
No. I've heard them say, j'ai du mal avec leur avis. Like my husband, for example, has said that a few times. J'ai du mal avec lui. Because every time they get together, they still get together. They talk about their politics and they clash and they annoy each other, and they'll go around the subject and they'll try to clarify or change each other's opinion, which never works. But we still get together, and it's fun. It's great to have a debate. It's wonderful.
It's never boring.
Yeah. And the same with religion. People love to have conversations about religion in France. One of my students,
in particular, one or two religions, not their own, right?
Yeah. One of my students was hoping that I was a Catholic. Because he wanted to have a debate with me because he's agnostic, and I said, oh, I'm not, but I can pretend to be if you'd like me to be because we were doing an English lesson. And he was like, oh, j'ai toujours rêvé d'avoir un gros débat avec quelqu'un de très religieux. That was his dream, to try to argue with somebody who had very strong religious beliefs.
And how interesting that was even something that he dreamed about, because it shows just how few people are deeply religious, deeply Catholic in France.
Yeah, there's more and more. I did a video about it a little while ago. There's more and more, especially adults, getting baptized. And Caen is we've got churches all over the town of Caen. So it's got a big Catholic population, but that's probably an exception.
Well, how do you explain the resurgence?
I don't want to get too much into politics. But
it's a political thing?
I think it's a political thing. Yeah, I do. I think it's the French trying to hold on to their identity. Yeah. But that's my take on it. But I don't know, people looking for meaning as well. People looking for coming back to their roots, I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. But it's very interesting. The whole of everything we've been talking about today, the way the French are with each other, the way they are with their family, the long meals, you can sort of trace it all back to their Catholic past and the influence of the Catholic religion on just sort of the society values, their basic values. So that's what my video was about. Not really why people are coming back to it, but more where it's how the influence it's had on the French over the years. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. And there's one expression that I love that could never exist in English, so you couldn't translate it. When somebody describes a food item that's really rich, what do they call it? Et tout chrétien.
Ah, yes.
Et tout chrétien. I love that.
I haven't thought about why.
Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah. I've never really thought about that. I've heard it a few times, but I've not really thought about why that's come about. But that's quite funny.
It was fun. I had tremendous fun chatting with you,
Yes,
Jane.
me too. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your opinions.
Anytime.
It was really good to talk to you. I come down to the south of France quite often, so perhaps we could have a coffee one day. It would be lovely to see you.
Absolutely. Please, I will hold it against you if you don't contact
I'll
me.
let you know.
Super.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking
Have a good
today.
day.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching Living Well in France. If you would like to see more podcasts like this, then do let me know in the comments. I have lots of people I can talk to. Until next time, à bientôt.